more of a peaceful resolution of local conflicts. Um, Now, if we look at the specific outputs, so what activities could take place here, it's really quite open. It would be based on the need within the location that you select, whether it's, for instance, creating a space for communities to interact and to speak, whether it's intervening through dialogue, mediation, promoting community-led processes, creating conflict resolution mechanisms in the communities, and basically trying to support them, to support also local duty bearers, to manage communication and interaction between the different groups, regardless of their backgrounds, of their basically affiliations. It's important here that we try to provide them a space to discuss things that otherwise they might have not been able to discuss or to interact together. And this is where you can link it directly to the second pathway, because in order for you to do that in a successful manner, it's very helpful to have service provision or an economic activity or a livelihood activity that um, kind of puts people together on the same path. They will have that shared objective of achieving that improved economic situation in the community, uh, this improved living conditions for them as individuals, but most importantly, on a communal level. And this is what I will also explain a bit later. Then the idea is that we aim to reach a state of reduction of conflicts because of competition over resources. As we understand very well, the high level of need in Syria at the moment and the high level of competition over resources, it's important that we try to provide any sort of livelihoods opportunities, investments, basic services, local economic cycle activities, or mainly community infrastructure. So this is where you can consider the rehabilitation or the restoration of physical infrastructure as well. So you can see that in pathway one, we're mainly referring to the social fabric, social infrastructure, when pathway two, we are here focusing on the physical infrastructure. And again, we do not have any restrictions on that. So it could be a hospital, it could be under the health field, it could be under the education field, under the legal aid sector, it could be related to MHPSS, or anything that you find strongly needed with regards to improving the social cohesion. If we move to the third pathway, and this is also where you need to have that strong link that goes beyond just simple coordinating with government actors or with local committees. This is where you have to consider an actual intervention with them, an actual involvement, or rather activity that's directed towards governance with the objective of achieving stronger and more inclusive and accountable governance structures, and inclusive local decision-making processes. So this could be done by creating grievance mechanisms or strengthening those that are existing. Could be done also by trying to make the local decision making more consultative and advocating for that, trying to give trainings or capacity building or technical skills to manage specific administrative processes or technical processes, even technical skills that are needed in governance structures. And here I want to just explain that governance structure doesn't always refer to the government itself. It could be any sort of leadership structure in the community that is influential or that has a strong leadership, and is expected to manage something on an administrative level or on a tribal communal level. I just want to share here that again, your starting point for this theory of change is the conflict line and the peace and conflict analysis. You will have later time to work on the peace and conflict analysis. And here I'm obviously referring to the partners that will be selected. We'll have enough time to go through a very detailed assessment. But for now, I will just give a few examples on how your starting point should be the conflict line. So, for example, in Yemen, we looked at the data, and in some of the rural areas, we saw that most of the conflicts between community members in specific areas in the courts were related to disputes over water. So there was limited water resources, and this has triggered a lot of conflict between the people, and in some cases it led to violence. So that is what drove the actors to start thinking of, then maybe we need to fix or provide a source for water. Maybe we will have an intervention related to wash facility, and we need to coordinate that with governance structure, but most importantly, maybe provide capacity building to whichever mechanisms that exist there, formally or informally, that will maintain this water facility, or that will um, continue to ensure that it's providing the needed services to everyone. There are so many other examples that you can access through the website that you could start reading about, but it could again include creating inclusive public spaces for communal interaction. It could be a community center, playgrounds, MHPSS, or legal clinics. And the important part is that the rehabilitation is again linked with the social cohesion element. Now, maybe we can move to the second point. How we aim to achieve this as a facility is basically through three pillars. So the first theory of change are the programmatic pathways. We call them pathways because they are basically the programmatic areas of the theory of change of the program. But this is more on the operational side, how we will be working as a facility with the partners in the future, inshallah. So the first pillar is through equitable partnership, and this is very important. We are here announcing the call for consortia, and this means that there will be a lead, and there will be a sub grantee, and there will be the NABNI facility, which is us in the MENA region. And there are a lot of dynamics that need to be managed in a very fair and equitable manner. So what I'm trying to say here is that there will be direct efforts and measurement methods to ensure that the relationship is actually equitable, that the partners have very fair and equitable decision-making power, that they are sharing with the sub-grantee, and that they are that is basically built on their contextual knowledge and familiarity with the context, and them being directly on the ground. Then if we talk about the second pillar, which is the technical assistance and capacity strengthening, this is where we are referring to the technical support that the partners might need. So whether it's on their departments or units within their organization, programmatically as peace building, social cohesion. We have our peace building expert that is on the team of NABNI that will come in later. We also have our team here of finance, procurement, logistics. We have our environmental and social specialists. So M&E as well. So all of these technical capacities are there, and there will be very close coordination and support in case needed through a very well-structured plan of technical assistance that is built based on the preference of the partner and their capacity assessments that they will be basically prioritizing the need that they want. This support will not only be technical, there will obviously be material or financial support to specific needs or specific system related capacity that is needed by the organization. finally, the third pillar, which is the knowledge exchange and learning, this is the pillar that we are trying to slowly build gradually, starting from our experience in Yemen and Iraq. We already have a lot of lessons that we are happy to share with Syria, and this goes beyond just simple lesson learned document sharing. Here we're referring to systems and work plans and knowledge exchange platforms that will be available for our partners, and that will likely also expand to non-partners in the countries. I will hand over to Zaid, and we will look at your questions in the chat at the end of the presentation. Over. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Just, colleague, one point to mention about the theory of change, which I'm sure, as you went through the call for concept note document, you have realized that the theory of change, the three pathways, applies a holistic approach, meaning that when you design your concept note and later when you, if you are selected, you started developing your activities and so on. You need to consider the three pathways in the intervention you design or in the concept you will submit to NEBNI, meaning the intervention should have pathway 2, pathway 1, pathway 3, all together in the same location. If we receive concept notes that does not address the three pathways in its design, or let's say the plan that you will submit, it will not be considered in the next step. This is, I think, important. And later, if you have questions, we can go through them and answer. The other point, maybe I forget to mention at the beginning that this session is recorded. So after the end of the session, we will put the session on our website for you to refer to in case there is a question, something you missed to listen to it again. And also all the questions and all the discussions we will have in the session during the session will be also taken and put as questions and answers in our Q&A weekly document that we share with you twice a week, every Monday and Thursday, also for you to refer to and can use it as a reference when you work on your concept notes. Now let me talk about the setup of the facility. Our donor, as you know, it is BMZ through KfW. This is the donor of the facility, and NRC is the management of the facility in the Middle East and North Africa region. As my colleague mentioned a few minutes ago, that the team is based in Amman, the FMU, and they are supporting countries like Yemen, Iraq, and hopefully in the near future, Syria and other countries. Now, we thought it's important also in our meeting with you today to highlight some of important documents that we feel it is good that you go through while you develop your concept notes. One of them, and maybe the top of them, is the theory of change, what Lynn explained. There is a specific document on our website explains the theory of change, the reason behind it, and how you also could apply it while developing your concept note. I highly encourage you to go through that document. The other document is NEBNI strategy, because it outlines the overall approach, the objectives of the facility in the Middle East, and what we are trying to achieve. The third, also kind of important document that encourage you all to go through, is the grant allocation manual. The grant allocation manual basically details the process of how to apply and what happens until you reach the co-design level. We'll come to that point later during the presentation, but also this will explain to you our thinking and the process designed on how to achieve this, like from the submission of your concept note until you reach the final evaluation and selection. So I kindly encourage you to go through this manual, and go through it, and maybe later when you have questions, you can use our e-call for proposal system to ask us questions around these three documents if anything you see that is not clear for you. Now we come, I think, to I would say, one of the most important parts of this presentation is the call for concept note document. The idea of how we designed this call, also the template itself, and I'm sure you might have questions and things to clarify. For that, I hand over to my colleague Georgia. She will walk us through these two documents, and later we can discuss about them when we have time for the Q&A. Georgia, over to you. Thank you. I will stop sharing my screen also.
Thank you, Zaid. And yes, I'll take some time now to go through first the call for concept notes document. And then I will also go through the concept note template that is in the package for the Syria concept note, call for concept notes for NABNI. So some of your questions that are already coming in the chat may be answered already by me going through this. So I'll go through the document itself and highlight a few points, but of course, a strong encouragement to go through it in detail, as it is providing as much information as possible for your submission. The call for concept notes here has a few sections. We have a summary at the beginning. So I'll go through this first and then go section by section, highlighting the most important parts for you to keep in mind. Now, of course, this is a call for concept notes for Syria, and the eligible applicants are only consortia. So we are looking for consortia of organizations that are formed by one lead and a maximum of 2 sub-applicants. And I will go into a little bit more detail later on. The grant size for the NABNI grants in Syria are between 1.5 million and 1.7 million per grant. We have an overall amount available for this call of around 5 million. So we expect to award 3 grants under this call. We have, of course, sort of reserving the right to not award all of the available funds, but this is the expectation for now. So you can submit concept notes with a budget of between 1.5 and 1.7 million euros. So in terms of geography, we are covering, or this call covers the whole of Syria. However, it is divided between 3 geographic lots, and you can see them on the screen. Couple of things to point out here. So we are expecting to award 1 grant under each of these geographic lots, and applicants are actually, or sort of the consortium lead applicants, are allowed to submit only 1 concept note under 1 lot. This is, yes, here we go. This is to to ensure that there is sort of a focused submission to the NABNI grant, to the NABNI call. The 3 lots, you can see them here. They're only sort of designed for administrative purposes on our end. And as I said, we will be awarding 1 grant, so 1.5 to 1.7 million per geographic lot. Each of the concept notes submitted must be focused on 1 lot and 1 governorate within that lot. There are a couple of details which I will go into a little bit later around this, but this is important to note that there should be a geographic focus. The project duration that we're looking for is 24 months. So when you design your concept notes, you are required to think about, or you're asked to think about a project length of 24 months. As already mentioned and further explained in the call, this includes a 6-month co-design phase and 18-month full project implementation expected. And the co-design phase, I will talk about this a little bit later, but it is, for all intents and purposes, also part of the beginning of the project. The development of concept notes, we are asking, of course, to use the concept note template, which we provide, and I will go through that a little bit later on. And at this time, we are only accepting concept notes submitted in the English language for this call. So the way that you will have to submit your concept notes is through our electronic call for proposal system. I will not go into much detail here because there will be a couple of presentation slides later on to explain a little bit how this works. But the electronic call for proposal is the only way that we will accept. The electronic call for proposal system is the only avenue through which we will accept the submission of concept notes. There is an instruction document as well that you can go and reference in terms to see how to submit. Please note, and this is important as well, that through this e-call for proposal system, you will be able to submit your concept note, so using the concept note template, but you will also be required to answer some core information on your organizations, and I will go through that a little bit later. And this is, again, a step to go through in the ECFP, in the online system. All of this information, once again, at this time has to be provided in English. The questions and answers function. Once you download the call for concept note package from the NUBNI website and the electronic call for proposal system, you will see an option to actually go and ask questions should you have any. And as my colleague mentioned, the answers will actually be published twice a week on our website under the funding opportunities page. And this will be updated every Monday and Thursday. There is a deadline for submitting questions, which is around 1 week before the deadline for submission of concept notes, and it is August 4th of next month. Yes, we have two virtual orientation sessions. This is one. The next one will be on July 24th, and this is the link to the next Teams call that you will be able to access. And then the deadline for the submission of concept notes will be on August 10th at 4 p.m. 16 hour. And this is in Damascus time, so GMT +3. So please take that into consideration. So 4 p.m. Damascus time on August 10th. All right, so going through a little bit of the details. We have a few sections. I will not go through the background. This has already been covered. The objective of the call for the concept notes is to receive concept notes outlining a project idea and the profile of the consortium that is being formed to submit a project idea to the NUBNI facility. This will be done, so the NUBNI grant making process, and you can find far more details in the grant allocation manual, which is on our website, has two steps. One is receiving concept notes and evaluating them and selecting partner consortia. And then the second part will be to actually go through a co-design process, a co-design phase with the selected consortia that is estimated at 6 months. So one thing to keep in mind when you are designing your concept notes and you're designing your project ideas is that these may change and these may be adapted based on a local peace and conflict analysis, which is one of the main activities of the co-design phase, which will be followed by other feasibility assessments for your project idea. So maintain this in your mind while you are designing your project ideas, and we're not looking for fully developed, very detailed project proposals at this stage. The call for concept note document refers to a lot of different documents and details that you can find on the facility website. And once again, we're highly encouraging you to go through those. So on the requirements for the concept notes themselves, one key thing to note is that we have on the eligibility side, we are only requiring you to, of course, conform with the requirements of the call. But and to align with the NABNI facility theory of change, which was just presented by my colleague Lean, and on which you can find far more information also online. You will not find any thematic areas of focus. The only thing we ask is adopting that the project ideas adopt a building for peace approach. You can go through the various details here, but this is the one key thing I want to highlight, which is essentially that, yes, there is no thematic area of focus, just as long as you demonstrate the building for peace approach and adopting the theory of change of NABNI. This is more details that you can go through on the requirements for concept notes. Geographic plots, I already mentioned this. Each consortium, or rather, one concept note can only be submitted under one lot and one governorate under that lot. So it is expected that we will award one grant per lot, which means that ultimately there will be one grant per governorate. So again, the grant will be awarded 1.5 to 1.7 million per governorate under each of these lots. More details are in the document, but for the sake of time, I will go through the rest of the call and speak a little bit about who is invited to submit a concept note under this call. International organizations, or INGOs, are not eligible. However, we recognize that there's been very different structures and operational modalities for working inside Syria over the past years. And so we are trying to adapt and maintain an inclusivity of eligibility for these organizations. We do require a demonstrated genuine connection and strong connection through Syria, through founding values, mission of the organizations, governance, and their operational footprint and experience. So we are. This is very much high on our minds, and we are asking different questions to allow different sort of operational modalities to be eligible under this call. As I mentioned earlier, only consortia will be eligible under this call for concept notes, and they must be formed by one lead applicant and maximum of 2 sub-applicants. 2 things to highlight here. One is that lead applicants are allowed to submit maximum 1 concept note under maximum 1 lot, which means that if you, as a lead applicant, submit 2 concept notes under 2 different lots, we at the facility will only actually consider the one that was submitted last. NGOs, or sort of, sub-applicants are allowed to join more than one consortium. However, we do discourage that. At this stage, we're trying to sort of, as mentioned earlier, also kind of encourage genuine and strong partnerships. One thing to note is that should you have any infrastructure components in your design of the project and in the future, after the co-design phase, these will only be allowed to be managed by the consortium lead. All right. We'll go through the consortium lead eligibility requirements quickly as well. So as I mentioned, the lead applicant we're trying to accommodate for different operational modalities. They can be non-profit organizations registered inside Syria, outside operating as diaspora organizations, or cross-border organizations. We do require that if you are not currently registered in Syria, you have proof of intention to seek that registration. And very crucially here, we require proof of operational and programmatic functioning inside Syria as direct implementers for the past 3 years. Other requirements are listed here. I will not go through those. Should you have any questions, you're free to ask those. Also, either in this call or in the Q&A. The difference between the requirements for the lead and the sub-applicant are minor, but they do exist. So the consortium sub-applicants must be either non-profit organizations registered inside of Syria or registered and operating as cross-border non-profit organizations. In other words, diaspora-based organizations are not eligible as sub-applicants. Now, again, we are requesting that if you're not currently registered inside of Syria, you are intending to do so. And the difference here is that we are also requiring sub-applicants to have proof of programmatic and operational presence in the location of the project or in the proposed location of the project for the past 3 years. As part of our due diligence, we also ask, this is section 8, consortium lead applicants to have minimum standards for grant management. I will not go through this in detail, but this speaks to different policies and practices that you must have for procurement, for grievance redressal mechanisms, finance, and others. I will go through to section number 9, which is about the evaluation of concept notes. And it will be maybe clearer also once I go through the template itself. So we assign 60% of the evaluation points to the profile of the consortium, and 40% of the criteria are assigned to the concept note itself, or rather, sorry, the project idea itself. This is because we are, again, asking for a project idea, not a fully fledged project proposal. And we're very interested in partnering with consortia that have an interesting profile for the NEBNI facility. So there's different points assigned to the different sections of the template, the concept note, excuse me. You can go through these in detail as well, but you will see the different weightage that we will be giving to the different sections. The selection process will be detailed later, so I will not go through this in much detail. Just important dates. We launched the call for concept notes on July 1st. We're having the first information session now. The next one will be on July 24th. The deadline for submitting questions will be August 4th, and then the deadline for the submission of concept notes, as mentioned, August 10th, 4 p.m. Damascus time. Again, just quickly, the next steps after the selection of consortia will be to design together a co-design phase, which will result in the signature of a countable grant agreement for the co-design phase of approximately 6 months, and then followed by full implementation of the project. Okay, quite a lot of details to go through, so bear with me. Maybe I will now go through the concept note template for the submission of concept notes under this call. So we are asking that you try to really sort of follow the instructions here. We do not require any additional details besides the concept note itself. And we're asking that to the extent possible, you keep the word limit that is cited under each sections. The concept note template has 4 sections, and I will go through these in brief detail. And again, at this time, we only accept concept notes in the English language. So the first section is actually background information, which will not be scored. This is where you are able to provide the names of the consortium lead applicant and sub-applicants. Indicate, as you will see here through a drop-down menu, the lot that you choose, as well as then the governorate in which you want to propose your idea. We also give space here to for organizations whose operational and legal sort of modalities have changed in the recent months to provide further details should you require to do so. So if this is not applicable to your case, feel free to skip this section and just write here, not applicable. If this is applicable, please do provide further details. So the project idea section, you will see we ask for a brief description of the context of the specific location that you want to work in and why those were selected. And then, crucially, we are asking for your description and assessment of whether the conflict challenges and tensions that may exist and how those impact communities. This is very important to then lead to the second section around the project idea and the relevance of your project. As mentioned earlier, the NEBNI theory of change and the building for peace approach really seeks to put the conflict issues or tensions at the center of the logic. So here you are able to, on section 1.2, provide your project idea the overall objective, what aspects of the conflict you expect to address, and who the target groups are. We then ask for a little bit more detail on the project rationale. So in other words, how you expect that your proposed activities will address the challenges identified, and how specifically your service delivery ideas or infrastructure will also do so. We're asking for some information around methodology and the approach that you have taken in not only assessing and having consultations for your project idea, but also how you plan to then further use what kinds of methodologies to strengthen social cohesion in the location and as part of your project. I'm realizing I'm running out of time, but I am going to go through this a little bit as well. So the second section is around the profile of the consortium that is applying to the call. As I mentioned, this is the 60% of the evaluation. So we're asking here for each consortium member to provide some information around their own organizational characteristics. So how your mandate is aligned with NABNI's principles and how does the project idea match your mandate. Then section 2.2 is around your experience. So we're asking a little bit around your experience as a consortium. So please do provide your answers based on the collective experience of the different consortium members. In terms of your presence and experience in the location that you are proposing, and secondly also on the sectors that you are proposing to work in within that location. You will see the detailed questions as well here. 2.3 is asking about the consortium experience with the project approach. So this is around how can you demonstrate or what can you describe around your past experience with activities or sectors similar to the NABNI theory of change. One is around local peace and conflict dynamics, others around sort of other activities that you may be suggesting. So please do make the linkage to the activities that you are suggesting to demonstrate your past experience and how you would leverage that for this grant. There's a question around your experience on accountability to local communities and how you have approached this in the past, as this is central to the NABNI facility implementation of grants. The question or the section 2.5 is around consortium management. And this really asks a little bit more about the relative balance of profiles that you have within your consortium. And so this is your chance to provide more details on this and more details on what you expect the roles and responsibilities or the governance structure to be in the consortium. We have one extra question. If one of the consortium members is a type of network, so an alliance, a forum, other kinds, to describe a little bit the working modality and the specific role that this network would have in the consortium. Section 3 is around the project budget. So a couple of things to highlight here. We haven't set a very strict sort of ratio between the project budget and what we are going to look at in terms of the yearly turnover of the consortium lead applicant, but we really do ask that you evaluate how your budget aligns with your own financial capabilities or the consortium lead financial capabilities. We will be evaluating, as part of the evaluation of these concept notes, the proportion that your proposed budget represents compared to the average annual turnover of the consortium lead applicant for the last 3 years. So in other words, if we notice that your annual turnover or average annual turnover for the last 3 years is disproportionately is smaller compared to to the budgets that you are proposing, we will be asking, and it is included a little later, how you plan to adapt your financial systems and processes in order to manage this kind of grant, and how your absorption capacity will then be adapted. Can ask, we can answer further questions on this as well, of course. So there's some instructions on how to fill the budget table below. And the budget table, unfortunately, it is split here between two, but it's very simple at this stage. There is really not a lot of detail that is required. We ask that you subdivide or that you divide your budget, your proposed budget under the theory of change pathways. So what you plan to budget and spend under each of the pathways of the theory of change in terms of activities. And then, of course, the salary costs and your operating expenses, as well as overheads, which are capped at 7%. What I mentioned before around the ratio of your yearly turnover versus the budget, again, only for the consortium lead applicant, you can answer questions around this if they are applicable to your case in section 3.2. And lastly, section 4 includes project references. So we're asking for a minimum of 6 and up to 12 relevant project references of consortium members implemented within the last 5 years. So it's fairly simple here. You can provide some details on different projects that you have implemented in the last 5 years. And we do ask that you select the most relevant projects, of course, to the type of project and idea that you are proposing for this grant. All right, this is it from me. So I'll stop sharing my screen and hand it back over to Zaid. Thank you.
Thanks. Let me just reshare my screen. Yeah. Thank you, Georgia. I just want to highlight that we know that spending 20 plus minutes to discuss the call for concept note document and the concept note template is not enough. And I think we try to highlight the most important part, let's say. But again, encourage you to spend some time reading the call for concept note documents, understanding the requirement in terms of geographical locations, in terms of the requirement and the eligibility criteria for the lead, for the sub, issues regarding your budget and financial capacity. All of these things, please spend time. Read the call for concept note and the template. We still have time until, as mentioned before, 4th of August to be able to ask questions. And on this point, I kindly ask you that you use the link that you received when you downloaded the call to direct the questions to us through the e-call for proposal system to be able to answer them and put them twice a week, Monday and Thursday, as mentioned before. Sometimes now we receive questions on the info NEBNI email. Unfortunately, we cannot answer these questions because, as you know, this is a procurement process. We are mandated to be fair to all potential applicants. So this is the only channel we receive questions through. Tala Ibrahimi, we'll get to the time where you can ask questions. Be patient with us, please. Thank you so much. So again, please do not send the questions to NEBNI info. Always use the link to submit questions through the system. And don't be shy, don't be worried. You can send us 10, 20, 100 questions on the same issue. If you feel that we answer your question on Monday and the answer is not clear, we are more than happy to receive the question again with more clarification from your side, and also we can provide more clarification from our side. I think it's important to highlight this point. Let me move to grant allocation manual here. As I mentioned before, colleagues, it's important to go through it to understand how you can work on your concept note, but also to understand the process. There are here 6 steps. I think it's important. Number 1 starts from development and the launch of the call for concept note. This is from, like, this is on our side, on the side. And then we go to point 2, the submission of the concept note. This is your job. We designed this info session on the 9th, so we launched on the 1st of July. We gave you time to prepare
Can you? Hello?
No, we lost
Yeah.
you actually. We can't hear him anymore.
Okay. Maybe I can take over while he can, if someone can contact Zaid. Okay.
Yeah, so sorry, there was
Oh, here we go.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me start from the document from the beginning. I was saying that yeah, I was saying that number one is the development of the launch of the call for concept note. This is on our side. Number two is where your role starts, is the submission of the concept note. We designed the two information sessions, the first one today on the 9th of July. So we made it 1 week, more than 1 week after the launch of the call, to give you time to go through the documents and to understand more about the call and how to submit. And then we said, okay, let's talk now to answer if you have questions. The next info session will be on the 24th. Also, enough time for you to start preparing and drafting your concept note. And then at that session, we can answer more questions if you have on the criteria, on the call itself, on the eligibility factors, and so on. And then once you submit, which is the 10th of August, is the deadline. Of course, you are free to submit when you are ready, but the last day, that the deadline for you to submit the concept note is the 10th of August at 4 p.m. Damascus time. So please make sure that you submit your concept note enough time before that, in case there is a technical issue, there is a glitch with the system, you can email us and we can work on this. It never happened with our system before, but in case, so I encourage you always to plan your time ahead. And then once you submit your concept note, the deadline pass, we start the evaluation process from our side. And it is on different levels. We first filter for the eligibility criteria. And then from eligibility criteria, we see who are the NGOs eligible to apply or to go to the next stage, which is long listing, and then short listing. From the short listing, we do the due diligence here. This is a very important step that later, based on the answers you provided in the system, we check the documents, the audit, your staff, the structure, all of these things. We do that during the due diligence. And I'm sure you all know and you went through this process. Those who pass the due diligence from the shortlist will be invited to make a presentation about their concept notes before the NABNI panel, and the donor also will be joining this exercise. It is the last process before we make the final decision and the selection can be announced. We anticipate that this process takes, from the closure of the call for concept note to the end of the evaluation, we anticipate the process takes maybe 3 months. And again, this is tentative, depending on the concept notes we receive, the time we need to evaluate, and so on. And then the time also will be dedicated for the due diligence. Of course, we promise you that we will be transparent and we always be communicating important updates and deadlines using our system, our email info Nebni as well. Now I hand over to Lynn. She will talk to you about a very important, I would say, slide in this presentation, lesson learned from our calls in Iraq and in Yemen. Colleagues, please pay attention, because these things that we not and we identified, well, we will launching and selecting partners from Iraq and Yemen. Lynn, over to you.
Thank you so much. So just closing on this one, we, as I mentioned before, under our knowledge management and learning exchange pillar, we have identified a few tips, let's say, for the Syria process, and we are very happy to share them. Hopefully, they will guide you in the process of applying, but more importantly, in the preparation for that. So, how do you start? Preparing to apply for this? How do you find each other? The first step is to basically find your partner that you want to apply with together. So you are free, as my colleagues mentioned, to select another partner based on your choice. You don't, I mean, it could be based on your previous experience together, but it's also while we understand the recent changes in the context and the geographical scope, it's also possible that you can be creative and you can explore more networking modalities to find potentially new partners that you want to try to do this with. What's most important here is that you know your roles and you estimate your own capacities very well. So you know your mandate. You can try to do things maybe differently within your mandate. Try the same activities, but with new targeting criteria, with new methodologies on a technical level, but you will always have your experience in your mandate, and you might very likely need someone else to complement you on some of the pathways in the theory of change. So this should be the first thing that is guiding you. For example, the lead organization knows that they are strong on infrastructure, they are strong on livelihoods, they have the skills and the capacity and the resources needed and the experience needed to work on physical infrastructure. Now they need to find another organization that is falling within the eligibility criteria for the sub-organization that is mentioned clearly in the call, and who is specialized on governance and on social cohesion, for instance, so they could complement each other. Now, once you do that, you can, and it's also vice versa, right? So you are an organization that is very focused on social cohesion. You have experience on peace building. You have experience on maybe legal aid or on governance, and you want to find that partner that will supplement your expertise with that hard component. So find each other and explore the options and start designing the project idea together. This is very important because it's very easy to work in silos, and that each you can draft different paragraphs and the content will look disconnected. So it's very important that you start from the conflict when you're discussing the project idea, and obviously you have to find someone who's working in the same location as you are, because the project is complementary. So you want to work on the same sort of site or on the same community to achieve the maximum level of impact. It could be multiple project units, it could be multiple sites that you're working on. It doesn't have to all fit in one bulk of rehabilitation work, but whatever it is, it has to have the three pathways or the three components that we have discussed. So write the concept note together and design the project idea together, and really reflect very well on the theory of change. I think we try to raise that a lot, and there are videos available. But as I mentioned, this is quite an unconventional project. It's an unconventional model. You have a chance to basically try things that you have not tried before, and to decide what you want to work on rather than someone telling you what you need to work on. So I really hope that this is explored with a lot of creativity rather than just an extension of previous, identical processes. This is a chance where you can actually think and reflect and design something that is unique. Um, Again, on the communal mindset that we have discussed. So while we very well recognize the need of individual support, whether it's individual housing or cash, we know this is very important, but we also know that there are different actors in the country that are involved, and we are aware of trying to be complementing for each other. So for this specific project, for Nabni's concept, we hope that you focus on that communal mindset. The ultimate objective is to try to solve the problems or the disputes that the community members are facing regularly from a communal on a solution, or a solution that is on a communal level, and that will solve the issue on a bit of a higher level and in a sustainable manner. So this is very important. Again, when you draft your concept note, please try to be concise and coherent, and of course review the formatting, the track changes. Try to make sure that it's like kind of draft with one spirit, and also try to stick to the instructions. The instructions are very clear. They were not like this in the first call, so you are getting a quite the best version so far. I hope that you could really make the maximum benefit from these tips and instructions within the call. And finally, last but not least, please remember that there's a co-design phase. So we mentioned this a lot today. We don't expect you to give us a very detailed assessment or resources from research and literature saying we don't expect you to already identify the site, specific site, or do assessments for this. We just want the initial idea. And there's a lot of time to do all of this together afterwards with your partners and with Nabni's support. So we are trying to just get the idea that you have, try to study that idea, compare it with other ideas, and see which one is solid and is complementary and kind of presents that spirit that of unity between the two partners, and that is super important also. I don't know if Zaid or Georgia want to add anything on these lessons, since they were also involved in the previous processes, but over to you.
Thanks, Lee. Nothing from my side. I think, again, these are all important, and these are things we noticed in previous two calls, and we hope that in Syria call, colleagues can pay attention to all what you explained. Let me just move to the next slide because I know we don't have much time and we still have the Q&A. Colleagues, this is again a timeline, important for you to have a look and understand, and also think about it for the future. So again, I can start from here. The call for concept note was on the 1st of July. The deadline is the 10th of August. As we explained before, we will need the partner selection will take hopefully August, September, October. We will do our best. We keep this timeline, maybe even before, depending on the quality and the time we need for the due diligence with the shortlisted applicants. As mentioned before, we are looking for three grants. The total money or the total fund allocated for Syria is 5 million euros. Once the partners are identified and selected, then we'll start the co-design phase. Basically, the co-design phase is around 6 months. we sign a short, NABNI signs a short-term agreement with the lead and its sub-grantee or grantees. The idea is to plan for the long-term agreement or to design the project. So there will be a local peace and conflict analysis to be conducted during this co-design phase. There will be more work on the social and environment to assess the security, to assess the UXO, to assess the requirement of your like systems and so on. Also to assess your financial, let's say, abilities, your procurement. All of these things will take 6 months. We hope we can also keep this timeline. And then once we are able to identify the activities through the local peace and conflict analysis, through the assessments that we will conduct, the technical assistance and the organizational assessment. Once these are all in place, we can start drafting the final proposal, which will take 1.5 years for the implementation. As you can see here, the LPCA and the co-design phase, we assume that it will take between January and June next year, because once the selection happens, there will be time for you to develop your activities for the co-design phase and then start the implementation of the co-design phase January to June next year. And then that time will be able to develop your final proposal through a set of activities that can be explained and shared with you through a specific TOR developed for this purpose. Once this is all done, the final proposal is ready. We can sign the final agreement, and this we anticipate to be from June 2026 to December 2027. So we are talking about 18 months timeline. Now, let me go quickly to the last 2 slides about the e-call for proposal system, how to submit your concept note. As mentioned to you before and also mentioned in the call for concept note document, there is no need at this stage to submit documents. All you have to do is to submit the concept note and answer the question. So when you downloaded the call for concept note, there was a PDF, has links for submitting questions, and also a link to submit your concept note. Once you click on the link, you will see this page. You enter your email, and then you will be able to receive the confirmation number and then start the process. There are a set of questions here you need to answer. And these questions are basically available. You can have a look at it in the annexes 2 of the call for concept note document. Once you answer all these questions, the core information about the organization and also the let's say questions related to the capacity and the experience of the organization. When this is all done, you can answer yes or no, provide information in the core information section. You can move to the last page, which, as you can see here, where you can submit your concept note. You can drop the file here and also follow the same approach. Enter your email, receive a confirmation number, and submit your application. I think it's a straightforward process here. But again, if you face any problem, please, you can use this email below to email us, and we can like answer all your like questions. And please try to submit enough time before the deadline. So if there is any issue around the submission, if there is any technical glitch, we can solve it with you ahead. There is no any application can be received or be eligible for evaluation if you submit through the email. The only way to submit your concept notes is using this system. Now, I'm sure some of you have already used this page when you want to submit a question to us. Basically, there is a link in the PDF that you downloaded. You can fill all your information here, and then at the end you can share with us your question. Questions only acceptable if it's in Arabic, sorry, in English language. So please make sure that this is done from your side, and we are happy to answer and post the answers every Monday and Thursday per week until the 4th of August will be the last day we receive the questions and we provide answers, because we need to give a week time where we cannot answer any questions to any potential applicants, so you can focus on your application and the submission. Thank you. Now I can open the floor for questions. I think we have almost over 120, so we will do two approaches here. We receive first couple of questions from the colleagues, and then also we pay attention to the conversations happening already, the discussions happening already on the chat box. Let me start first with Arwa. Arwa,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Zaid. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Zaid. Thank you, everyone. This was really helpful. I appreciate your time. My question is for organizations that are diaspora organizations that were working, for example, on themes such as accountability, human rights, which is very relevant to the governance side of this project. However, before December 8th, we're working fully on Syria and interacting with entities in Syria, but without physical presence. However, are now fully in Syria since December 8th. So do you discourage them from applying? I'm just interested in hearing this firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you. Yara, let me take the first three questions here, and then we can answer.
Yeah,
Yara,
thank you
please
so
go
much,
ahead.
Zaid, for everyone for the introduction. It's very helpful. I just want to ask if the organization have a contract with BMZ, can they apply also for this one? Thank you.
Thank you. And Rama, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for this session. My question is that maybe it's similar to one that was just asked, is about if the organization has a registration in Syria and in Turkey, newly registered in Syria, and was operating in Northwest Syria through Turkey registration, but the experience is mainly under the Turkish registration. Do you recommend that we work with the registration in Damascus, or we use the registration in Turkey? Additionally, if we use the registration of Turkey, can we do like transfer the funds from the Turkey bank account to the Damascus bank account in case there were some problems with the Swift banking system? And maybe this is a lot of questions, but this is my last one. If we're talking about Damascus, Damascus and rural Damascus are very close governorates, yes, and very interlinked in terms of neighborhoods and overall society. So if we're choosing Damascus, are we allowed to also work on some areas in rural Damascus? And are there any policies, those that are asked about in the core information and organizational questionnaire? Is there any policies that we are required to upload or submit, or are we just asked to answer the questions about these policies? And these are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So before I give the floor to Georgia to engage on these questions, the next round will be Hannah, Isam, and Saeed. Georgia, over.
Thank you for those. I'll do my best to address them, and please, colleagues, do come in as well. So the first question was around diaspora organizations who have been working on human rights issues without a physical presence in Syria in the past few years, but now registered and implementing inside. Unfortunately, yes, we must discourage from applying under that particular entity, because we do require operational presence and experience in the last 3 years in some shape or form. So if your organization has not had that, unfortunately, you are not eligible under this call. On the question on if an organization has a contract with BMZ at the moment, can they apply? The answer is yes, no restriction there. One question you may get asked later is just how the complementarity would, what the complementarity would be. Now, on the question of the registration, if an organization is registered in Turkey, has been operating in the Northwest, has recently registered in Damascus, which registration to use? Now, here we are trying to sort of accommodate for this particular scenario. So you are welcome to use the registration. You're welcome to flag both registrations with us. Now, of course, in the questionnaire that we ask you to fill out, we do request we do ask for information around your operational capacity in the last 3 years, which would presumably be the one that you have acquired under the Turkish entity. So please feel free to use that, as well as flagging the Syria registration now for potentially applying under that particular registration. So it's quite, it's a little bit open on this front. There is no preference on our side specifically to apply under one or the other, and you have the space to provide further information around this complexity. So do not feel discouraged, and if this answer is not clear, do ask it again, and we will, as a reminder, provide all of the answers in written form again in our Q&A that will be published on the website. Around the bank transfer, I might leave this one for either my colleague Viren to respond to or Veronica. I'm not sure because this is a little bit complex for me. But on the question of rural Damascus and Damascus being two governorates that are very closely linked, you will see in the call for concept notes a little note that does mention that if you are interested in working specifically in cross-border areas between governorates, this will be accepted on a case-by-case basis, and you obviously will be describing and explaining a little bit why this is important for you. And I take this opportunity to also say, despite the fact that we do request working in one governorate, of course, if there's any administrative needs that require you and your organization to also engage in another governorate, for example, Damascus, this is of course allowed, even if you are, let's say, applying for a project in the Aleppo governorate. On the question around whether you will be required to submit policies around safeguarding, finance, and etc., not at this stage. We only require a request for you to answer the question yes or no. Do you have them? However, should you be shortlisted, or should the organization be shortlisted, we will be requesting those under as part of the due diligence process. Yeah, I think that's it from me. Back over to you, Zaid, and if someone wants to answer the question on finance and banks transfers, over to you.
Thanks. Colleagues, Veronica or Viran, do you want to take that question on the bank transfer before we move to the next batch of questions?
Sure, I can take that. So yes, so I mean, I think 2 points that I think we're well aware of. One is that the situation in terms of legal, administrative, financial kind of rules and processes is still evolving in Syria. So this is something we're well aware of, and we're aware of kind of the operational and administrative challenges with getting funds and financing in. So in terms of the exact kind of modality, it's hard to give a concrete yes/no answer right now. We recognize that as of today, despite the easing of some of those restrictions, it would be very challenging to get an international fund transfer into Syria. However, this will change in 6 months or in the course of the coming months. So what we will ask you to do is, so in the form, and this applies as well to the question around kind of we're registered as a Turkish entity and now registered as a Syrian entity under the relevant legal provisions. So in the application, there is a space to explain that. And our due diligence process, which will follow, will look into kind of the possibilities and the ability of any shortlisted consortium to manage a fund transfer. So we're well aware of the many unknowns right now. And so I'd really encourage you to kind of mention kind of as much as you can about these changing modalities, including around your registration and operational aspects. Thanks.
Thanks, Viran. Before I hand over to Hannah to ask her question, colleagues, please, due to the time, I mean, I'm sure now we are taking maybe more minutes after the end of the call, supposedly to be at 12:30. But in case we don't have time to answer all questions, make sure you leave your answer in the chat box, because later, even those questions, we will not be able to answer them in this call. We will answer them and post on the Q&A document. Hannah, please.
Hello, everyone. I have two questions. We understand from the call that each concept note must focus on a maximum of one governor, even though the geographical lots cover several ones. In cases the proposed intervention naturally spans across two neighboring governorates within the same lot, due, for example, to displacement patterns or tribal linkages. Would NABNI consider some flexibility on the governorate as clearly designated as the primary operational focus? This is my first question. The second one, could you please elaborate more on the expectations for the 6-month co-design phase? Specifically, are there examples of how significantly project ideas have evolved in the previous cases? Will the selected partners have access to technical or facilitation support from NABNI during this phase? And most importantly, is this co-design phase will be fully funded, including operational and staffing costs for the consortium partners? Thank you.
Thanks. Isam?
Hello. So
Yes.
3 questions. The first is for the applicants. I know that you discourage for some applicants to be existing in different programs, but can an organization be lead applicant in like in a proposal and the sub applicant in another? The second question is for the Northeast. For the registration, most of the organization have been registered for years under the autonomous administration, but not in the let's say the new Syrian government. Does the registration in the autonomous administration, let's say, is it accepted? The third, I would just like maybe it's like a repetition of what what Hannah just mentioned about the co-design phases, so that we know what resources we might be needed for the budgets to be estimated for the first 6 months. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Saeed?
Thank you, Zaid. My question is more or less same as I summarized. Now, if an organization is registered in Nice, and then now to submit, then let's say we are in the process of registration in Damascus, but it's not finalized yet. So, can you clarify more about for this, like for organizations in this case that they are registered in Nice for many years, and then now maybe I mean hopefully we will get the registration from Damascus soon, but if didn't, or I mean even if we did, can we also attach both of them to the application or not? And I mean more elaboration would be appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. Before I hand over to Georgia to answer, the next batch of questions will be Rabia, sorry, Ahmed, Ankir, and the last one is Mr. Bernard, something like that. So sorry, and this will be the last batch of questions we take from the like speaking, and we move to the chat box. So please, if you have questions, add it there. Georgia, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So on the question around focusing on one governorate, but what if this spans or crosses into a neighboring governorate within the same lot? It's the same answer I provided earlier. So again, in the call for concept notes, there is an option, so to say, that that says if you have a base quote unquote governorate, you can make the case to have activities in a neighboring governorate. And this will be again evaluated on a case-by-case basis, so it will not be excluded per se. So yes, the answer is yes, you can explain this in your concept note idea. On the co-design phase and the 6-month co-design phase, I will answer both questions around this in one answer. Well, it is fully funded. It will be actually we will be signing with the selected consortium an accountable grant agreement of the duration of, let's say, 6 months at this stage. Excuse me. Which will include your staffing costs, your support costs, operational costs. It is, for all intents and purposes, a beginning of the implementation. So this is not a co-design only focused on a desk sort of assessment, but it is really it does involve field activities and the local peace and conflict analysis, which we take as a field activity. It is supposed to be consultative and engage the communities. So we will be providing the funds for this, and there will be support from the NEBNI facility if and where required. Of course, more details on that should you get to this stage, and we will be conducting through this co-design phase our different steps to get to the full proposal development and final project idea. Your question around how much the projects have changed, please do be aware that yes, projects can be subject to significant changes if the local peace and conflict analysis actually points us in the direction of different types of activities. So we really seek to be process-led and led by community consultations and priorities set by communities and local stakeholders as much as possible. And we are aware that you have this connection with local communities already, but the idea is really to build a project that is based off of these assessments and these consultations at the local level, so they can be they can look different once we get to the full project design. So can an organization be a lead applicant in one consortium and a sub-applicant in another? The answer here is no. And we will be checking this through kind of seeing which one of the last submission will be for this particular organization. There were 2 questions around registration in the Northeast and the process of registration in Damascus. We are actually in the call for concept notes not specifying registration in Damascus. So any registration in Syria to operate in the location that you have selected will be eligible. So Northeast registration is eligible. And I think that's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Viran, do you want to touch upon the registration?
No, that's fine. As I said, I think just to emphasize that as part of the due diligence, we have to just ensure that we comply with all the legal requirements of the day of the government. So that's what the due diligence process will check. So you're welcome to apply as it's you're eligible right now. Thanks.
Okay. And Saeed, as said before, when you submit your application, like the call for concept, the concept note for now, you are not asked to submit a like certificate of registration in any country outside Syria. You need to answer the question, but not to attach any document to it. Later, if you are selected, you will be asked to provide the document for this. Plus, you also be asked to show a proof that you are seeking a registration in Syria. We know the process might take longer time, shorter time. There is a lot of uncertainty around this, but you need to show that you are basically in the process for this. And please, if the answer is not clear, feel free to send the question again. As I said, this is the last round of questions, and then we can move to the chat box. Rabia?
Thank you so much, Zaid, for this session and for the colleagues. Our question is just about for the recently established organization. Let's say exactly after the 8th of December. So we started our operation in Syria, and we have registration in Syria as well. So is it can be considered as eligible to apply, or it should be like under, or let's say sub applicants? Thank you.
Thank you. I think Bernard wanted to ask a question, or maybe he lowered his hand. It's clear. Ahmed, please go ahead.
No, sorry, I'm very happy to ask.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's also concerning the 6-month co-design phase. So are those activities led by NRC, NABNI staff? I mean, I heard conflict analysis. Are there also OD activities included? I understand this is to consolidate the proposal and also the organization to a certain extent. And what resources? I also understood you pay also for the we also implement the activities, but maybe for the co-designing we also need some other colleagues to be involved. And even maybe our not Syria-based staff. So could this also be eligible for the co-designing phase? Thank you.
Thank you. Ahmed?
Yeah, thank you for valuable information. My question about the process of evaluation the consortium, and specifically, will the capacities of both lead and sub-applicant be assessed equally, or will the evaluation focus solely on the lead applicant as responsible for managing all the aspects of the project? My question is about, will this call encouraging the new established organization with a small track of budget will be encouraged to be a sub-applicant with a big organization?
Thank you. Kamal, please, if you could just be quick. I have Kamal, and the last one is Jude, and that's it. Sorry.
مرحبا، فيني اسال بالعربي معلم عشان نكون
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, ما في مشكلة.
بالنسبه للمؤسسات اللي بتشتغل تحت رعايه او مظله الهيئات الدينيه بسوريا، هل وهي عندها اعتراف رسمي وعندها حسابات بنك وعندها مشاريع مموله من اليو ان، هل من الممكن انه تقدم عندها اهليه للتقديم؟ السؤال الثاني خلص هذا اهم بكفي. شكرا.
تمام، شكرا جزيلا على سؤالك. هلا بشكل مبدئي انت عندك الكول فور كونسبت نوت، انت لو بتقراها وبتشوف في تطابق، يعني بمعنى انه انتم عندكم خبرة سابقة في الامور اللي تركز عليها برنامج نبني، فانت يو ار فري، يعني انت عندك القدرة انه انت تقدم اعتمادا على انه حضرتك او المؤسسة اللي تنتمي لها عندها الشروط التي توائم الشروط اللي طالبتها نبني. لو في مجموعة شروط، يعني احنا بغض النظر عن انه هل هي مؤسسة دينية او هل هي مؤسسة اجتماعية، فاهم علي؟ اذا في شروط تنطبق على المؤسسة فانت اكيد راح يكون لك الحق انه تقدم وتمشي بالبروسس.
رح اضيف شغله صغيره، انه هي ما مسجله بوزارات الدوله، بس بتشتغل ضمن اللي هيك عم بسال، يعني احنا
طيب
ما عندنا
هلا
رقم
هي
إشراف.
لازم هلا لازم هي تكون مسجله للاسف، يعني هذا موضوع اساسي، يجب المنظمه التي تقدم ان تكون مسجله. تمام، شكرا جزيلا. جود.
I'll try to be very fast. I try to ask my question very fastly. Hello, we are a coalition of victims associations. We are 10 victims associations. We are working together on issues related to missing people in Syria. My question is, could we, as a coalition, consider one of us as a leading organization and consider the other or the sub partner as the coalition itself, all of it?
Thank
I
you.
don't know if my question is clear enough.
You are as a network, a coalition consisting of 10, let's say, organizations. You want one to be the lead, the other 9 to be the subs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to this question. Thank you. Georgia, over to you. And please, let's try to
Yes,
be
yes.
brief to move to the chat box.
Thanks. I apologize, but the first question that was asked, I did not fully understand, so I'll leave that for my colleagues, or maybe it can be repeated. So on the co-design phase, I think, so this was answered. I'll do it again very briefly. No, it's not led by a NABNI. It will be fully led by the organizations, by the consortia themselves, with the fully developed budget, with an accountable grant agreement and a contract for this particular phase that will include the necessary staffing costs, operational costs, and support costs that you need. But yes, this will be negotiated, and there's a great degree of flexibility of what it includes once, if and when the selection or your consortia gets selected. The capacities of the lead and the sub applicants, will they be evaluated at the same level? The answer is no. The capacity of the lead applicant will be evaluated based on a set of a little bit more stringent criteria that you will find in the call for concept notes. Sub-grantees will have to have some basic minimum requirements, which are also detailed in the call for concept notes as well as in the questionnaire for the organizations. But indeed, we do have higher requirements for the lead applicant and the lead grantee, given the fact that they are the grant holder for the NABNI grant. Newly established organizations, are they eligible, and do we encourage them to apply? If this is my understanding of the question.
Yes.
Well, this depends on whether you do have this organization has 3 years of experience at least. Unfortunately, we're not able to accept organizations that have not had any operational experience. And once again, I refer back to the questions and the flexibility around under which registration you are demonstrating your past experience. So you may have been registered abroad and have experience. You're free to use that experience to demonstrate your eligibility. On the question on the coalition, the answer here is yes. So essentially, you can consider one of the organizations if it is a fully registered and operational organization as a lead, and have as the sub-grantee or sub-applicant the coalition as a whole. I'm assuming the question in Arabic was also answered. Over.
Yeah, thank you. Colleagues, we're already like 10 minutes behind the schedule. Maybe we can go with the questions on the chat box, answer them, and put on the Q&A document for tomorrow. You will see all these questions and answers. Thank you for your time. Please, again, you have more questions, feel free to direct them through the official channel that we discussed. Don't forget that our next meeting will be on the 24th of July. It is Thursday, will be Thursday. We will discuss with you more, hear from you if you have any questions, as you will be starting to draft your your concept notes. So all the best, and thank you for your time today. Bye.